Hi, my name is Kent Lewis. I am founder of PDX Mindshare, as well as Chief Marketing Officer at Dexia. You may know me from the past as the founder and president of Anvil Media, which was acquired by Dexia last March in 2022. And I've focused my role solely on marketing and continue with Dexia support to focus on thought leadership, including maintaining momentum with Mindshare educational content. So we're kicking off 2023 with some networking tips, basically how to build a powerful network that propels your career. You can learn more at pdxmindshare.com. We have a blog, we have a large LinkedIn group that I encourage you to join if you haven't already, and connect with me at Kent, just Google Kent Lewis or go to LinkedIn and look for me and connect with me. It'd be great. You can follow me on Twitter, Kent J. Lewis, follow Dexia at Dexia, and visit dexia.com for more information. Thankfully, our primary sponsor, Dexia, makes Mindshare work. So we appreciate their support. And also they gave me a really cool shirt. So a little background on me before we get into the networking, but in the context, honestly, of networking, I think it may be important for you to understand kind of my credentials and why I am talking today. So I, for 22 years, I ran my own digital agency, Anvil Media, and then sold it to Dexia last March. So it's been about a year. I've also been an adjunct for over 20 years at Portland State University, where I've mostly taught a search marketing curriculum, as well as a few other classes. I, around that same time, started PDX Mindshare in '99, and we went into formal networking events in late 2001. And then suspended those after Trader Vic's in Portland burned down, where it was our favorite go-to location. And we took a break in 2016, and we're revisiting doing physical events again. But for now, we've relied on virtual podcasts, webinars, blog posts, and our LinkedIn group. Again, more information, pdxmindshare.com. If you want to learn more about the digital dark arts, go to sempdx.org. I co-founded and was the original president of SEMPDX. We have monthly learning events and a big annual event called Search Fest, formerly Search Fest, now called Engage. I think it's August 11th of 2023. And I highly recommend you go to that one-day conference. It's a great value, and you get some of the best speakers in the industry. You can check out my old archive shows on dailyadbrief.com. I hosted little 5-minute interviews with pundits in the digital marketing world. I write for SmartBrief on topics like ChatGTP and other Web3 content. And I just wrote an article on my own LinkedIn profile on the Super Bowl ads and assessing the trends there. And once a quarter, I, as an instructor, volunteer instructor for SCORE, do a 2-hour social media workshop. Next one is in April. Hope you'll join me for that. More at Portland SCORE, their website. So let's talk briefly about my networking journey as it informs this presentation. The power of networking is immense. It has gotten me to all the way to getting this cool shirt. Starting with after I graduated from a college in Bellingham, Washington, called Western Washington University, which I'm on their advisory board right now for the marketing department. But I graduated with a business degree. I started my first job at a big full-service agency in Seattle called Elgin DDB. And I leveraged my mom's connection. One of her nonprofit board members was in the PR department. I interviewed with him and a supervisor on the ad side, and decided PR was more interesting and challenging and fun. And so I started my career there on a 3-month unpaid full-time internship. But that got me in my foot in the door into an agency in Portland, where I knew absolutely nobody other than my cousin, one person in all of Oregon at that time. So that was big to get me going on my career and moving to Portland in '95. And just over a year later, I pivoted from high-tech PR to digital marketing when I started helping a sister agency, a web development shop, build their marketing, doing their PR. And they asked if I just do it full time. I said, sure. So that was in mid '96. And a month or two later, the creative director asked me, what do you need? Do you know what meta tags are? You need to look at those. And that started my career in SEO specifically. But I've carried my PR tool set with me everywhere I've gone. It's been invaluable. In fact, I started speaking and sharing my knowledge with an e-zine called Anvil within a couple months of starting at the Web Developer. So by late '96, I was writing a weekly newsletter about digital and internet and email and website hosting, some of the things we did at Vivo Media. And that I started speaking about that in local organizations. And by 97, a year later, I was recruited to a full service agency as the online PR guru. But that got a little boring because the ad team wouldn't talk to me because I wasn't an ad guy. The interactive team that built websites wouldn't talk to me because I wasn't a producer, coder, or a project manager, or a copywriter. So they didn't really understand what my role was. And the PR team was like, we don't see value or need to talk to online editors. We talk to traditional press. And so I pitched the idea to my boss. Let's do online marketing as a separate group within this large organization called KVO. Now since gone, much like every agency that I've been at previous, except for maybe Elgin DDB might still be around. But anyway, once I got recruited through speaking, through my network at that agency, I met my future boss and partner. Well, I met my current boss, who became my future boss again, and an equity partner. He asked me to join him in '99 to found an agency called Wave Rock. He was the real money behind it, and he hired two of us from the agency we were at that he used to manage us at, and we each brought one person with us from our departments. And then I brought the office manager from Vivo Media, which had closed its doors by this time. So January '99, we started up and we had a tear, got to about 3.5 million by the tail end, September-ish of 2000. I had a falling out with the boss, and he basically fired me, which was tragic in a lot of ways. He was a good friend and a mentor. But within a week, I founded Anvil, mainly because that was the name of my e-zine, and I didn't have a better name, and I had a domain with some content on it, more of a creative outlet. So in October of 2000, I started Anvil. So my network instantly came into play, where I was able to find talent and clients to help build a consultancy, but I wasn't sure that I wanted to be full-time. So then I co-founded an email marketing agency because I saw a need with a friend of mine, two friends of mine, a college roommate, and then Ryan Buchanan, who's currently chairman of the board at now Thesis. So it was called Email ROI for a year. Then I left to do Anvil full-time and hire people. And then he rebranded that as EROI, then Thesis. And it's like some 200 some odd employees today. So he got his vision of a big company agency, and I got to stay small. Like under, around a dozen people, and that was good enough for me. So in 2008, we were, 14 to 16 people at Anvil. We were cooking on the grow, and I decided to spin off a smaller agency that was the Scion entry-level car brand to your light. We had moved from Toyota to Lexus level as a preeminent, one of the larger, well-established digital marketing search-focused agencies. And at that point, I saw a need to work with smaller businesses, or a desire to, and work with agency partners and big vendors like Microsoft and Dex and so forth. So I launched that, and for 5 years we grew Formic Media, the sister agency. I hired people for that agency, moved people up and down between the main floor at Formic and the upstairs at Anvil, and eventually had to merge them in 2014. But my best networking story is landing our largest client in 2018 via LinkedIn outreach through my first degree connections. It's a credit union, and it was Anvil's biggest client. Now it's Dexia's biggest client. And then my network helped me find an ideal partner in Dexia, and we merged in, as I said, March of 2022. But a year and a half previously, I'd originally connected with them through the Entrepreneur Network, of which I've been a member since 2007. So all of this comes together as a little bit of family, a little bit of friends, a little bit of coworkers, a couple bosses, and then some professional organizations that have helped me build my success. So I want to share a few tips with you. Number one, build your LinkedIn network. It's your modern Rolodex. It's absolutely essential that you focus on growing your network, especially past 500 connections, because even at 501 connections, you now are as big as you're going to need to be credible. I have 23,000 connections. It just says 500 plus. Doesn't matter. So I have that credibility, and you can too. Start your outreach with your intimate network, people you know. So if you're a college student, you start with your fellow students. You start with faculty. If you're new in your career, you would start with family and friends and community, like your church, your gym, any of those folks. Make those connections, start building them. And then as you know them and trust them, ask for connections and introductions to other people that you want to get to know, somebody at Nike, somebody at Intel, wherever. You can see on the bottom right is you work your way outward into new contacts. So how I got from 500 contacts to 23,000 was that for like 8 years, every day, I would click on click on contacts, and it has all these suggested connections, and I would sit there and click the connect button for anybody that looked like they were a target for me, like a director of marketing, a VP of marketing, whoever. That's typically who I talk to. And that's how enough of them accepted, whether it was 10 or 20 or 30%. And then with the Kevin Bacon effect, everybody that the more and more people you have in common, the more likely they are to accept your request. So it snowballs quickly. So these suggested connections have been absolutely essential. And if you want to maximize the chance they'll accept, you hit the personal note for context, which is really important. So I'm reaching out to you because you're in my town. We share education. We both worked here. We're in an industry. I want to get into your industry. I've been following you, checking you out. If you want to get creepy about it, that works. Second tip is become a farmer. So networking is like farming. So, watering, planting the seeds, fertilizing. So build connections and talk to them regularly. Send status updates through LinkedIn to everybody, or personally through to individuals you want to keep in touch with. Celebrate their birthdays, celebrate their promotions, their anniversaries. All of that just keeps you top of mind. It can be very effective. Consistency is key. Fearlessness is helpful. And then also what I found highly recommended, and I've seen it successful, is joining groups and being a part of that conversation. I know people have built their businesses on being active contributors to specific subgroups that are highly relevant to their business or their profession, and gaining credibility and leads and clients that way, or customers. And you can just start, if you're not sure, follow influencers, follow businesses, companies that you're inspired by, and see what they're doing. It gives you a chance to maybe find something in mind that you can then use as a conversation piece. The third tip is to add value. So the idea is, of course, be transparent and respect others. That's worked for me. But respecting their time is really important. So it's one thing to say, hello, I'm, blah, blah, blah. But it's another to say, I know you're busy. So here's in one sentence what I'm asking. So my sales strategist, business development consultant, advisor suggested 2 sentences. I hope you're doing well. And everything's good. Do you have a few minutes to catch up? So I did my best here with this example on the right with Shalon, who's my client, has been since 2019 is, how are things going? We should catch up, blah, blah, blah. All I really need to say is, we know each other. We hadn't worked together. We just knew each other. And she's like, it's perfect timing. Let's talk. I pitched them by myself, won them. They became an absolutely strategic, valued client for us, not just their size, but how they engage with us as partners. One of the best relationship out of 1,200 some odd clients that I've ever worked with, all because of, I reached out to her twice before she responded over a 6-month period on LinkedIn. It can be extremely powerful. So I would always share timely news in every single outreach. The first time I sent it to 750 marketing contacts manually. Hey, how's it going? Customize the name, customize a little comment, and then include a URL to some relevant press coverage or press release or something. Always ask what you can do for somebody else. How can I help you? I appreciate your time. And then if you can also use Google Alerts and other alerts within LinkedIn to keep the track of certain employers or employees, notable folks that are big enough to be followed. And then tip 4 is to share updates regularly. This is what people struggle with the most, that I'm OCD about. I'm obsessive. So I celebrate my wins. Here's my latest article. Here's my latest press mention. Here's a recent award. Here's something I saw my client that I'm proud of. I less often, but others do this well, is ask pointed questions. LinkedIn and others are discouraging us from putting in too many polls, or if any polls anymore, but asking questions, getting feedback. Sometimes I've used that to inform presentations or articles. It's not usually statistically significant data from these smaller polls, but they're still interesting. I love to share industry news. I probably do it on average 10 to 20 times a day during business hours on LinkedIn. I've been doing that for over a decade. I use Hootsuite to schedule and manage all of that to make it a little bit easier. I also, try and write at least once a month a POV piece, like here's what I think about this emerging trend, ChatGPT, AI, NFTs, Web3, metaverse, voice search, whatever it is. Like I said, just the other night, I wrote an article about that I posted to LinkedIn about the Super Bowl ads and which ones I liked and a couple trends I noticed on themes from 2023's Super Bowl ads. And you can find that on my profile. So I try and do that at least once a month. And then, I like to share and comment and like other people's posts, being generous and thank them. I also thank them if they share my content. One thing I do is when I share other people's content on LinkedIn or Facebook, I always like it as well. So they know I'm like, I like it. I don't think I can share it without liking it. I think that's rude. So that's just an example. Tip number 5, join a tribe. So this is whatever yours. So one example is Western. So I gave a presentation like this to the Student Marketing Association up at Western. So I'm going to advise them, join these special interest groups that are just Western centric, not just your industry or your craft or your other communities. I at one point had 40, maximized the 40 groups that I was joining, but I wasn't really following them or engaging in them regularly. But for me, I spend the most time in the PDX Mindshare LinkedIn group. But there are other trade organizations. I think SMPDX has a LinkedIn group, and you can create your own. If you don't think that your community has been represented, red-haired left-handers in Portland, create your own group, see what happens. Tip 6 is to give back. So one way to build your career and build your network is to volunteer your time for nonprofits and charities or special interest groups like religious organizations or other hobby-based organizations, is volunteer to do marketing support or do anything just to get in there and get to know them. So for instance, a friend of mine, his son is managing the baseball team at Oregon State. He wasn't quite good enough to make the team, but now he gets to do anything from scorekeeping to he gets to throw in practice and bat in practice and be with the team. Sometimes he does their laundry and whatever it's needed, but he gets to see announcers and scouts, and he gets to see all parts of the business the players don't get to see. So you can do that, get that behind the scenes by volunteering. Engage in national charities or even at a local level. One way to get to national prevalence is start local, your city, your county or state, and then work your way up to national. Being able to do pro bono work or in-kind services. We've done that for years at Anvil. Dexy does it as well, but it's like donating time purely or in kind would be in exchange for something like a ticket or a sponsorship. A balance of both is usually good to build your reputation, and just help others. Send the elevator back down when you've made it up. You made it up 10 floors, send it back down. Another 10 floors, send it back down. So be a connector. So one thing I do is I volunteer for Smart Reading. I have for over 20 years. I was a board member at the Restaurant Lodging Association. I don't even think I got any business out of that, but even though it was my passion, I would have been great. I did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. And I also am not this heavy sales type, believe it or not. Tip 7, we're almost done here, is embrace in real life. So the idea here is dress the part. This is a refresher for those of you that are on the Zoom world and working, doing class, doing whatever remotely, is dress the part. Like, you don't know if I'm wearing any pants. Looks like I am, but just even if it's the upper body, the hair, the eye contact, the clothing that is appropriate. So I wear a garage shirt so I don't have to dress up, but I also stand out both in a formal setting and an informal setting. And it's branded, right? You see this, it's above the fold on purpose. Remember, when you meet people in real life, shake hands, bump those elbows. And I guess I could say in real life, you should dress the part, including pants and shoes that are appropriate, not just a nice top and pajamas. People have forgotten how to shake hands, especially since COVID. I lead in with a shake. If somebody does something else, I'm always ready to do whatever. I bring business cards. I was at an event recently, an organization that nobody brought their business cards, and now I don't really know how to follow up with the people, but I give them my card and hopefully they'll be in touch. I collect cards and I follow up when I can. I take good notes either on the card or separately, so I know what to follow up on. And then, God forbid, follow up. Make sure that you are circling back with whatever that action item was. Like, I owe one from my lunch meeting I gotta take care of. And then the last tip is to use an accountability partner. So I use Lisa Forster. I've known her for over 20 years. She is one of the best biz dev people I know. She came from agency. She's worked in-house at Intel. She has her own consultancy. She's remarkable. And she even though I've been in sales and networking and doing all these things fairly successfully, I didn't know what I didn't know. And Lisa was invaluable. We just hold each other accountable once a month with a quick check-in, half-hour call. Sometimes it goes longer. We try and set a goal each month for each other, for ourselves, that we hold each other accountable for. It's hugely helpful. So I'm trying to become an employee again for the first time in over 20 years. She is trying to build a consultancy for the first time in 20 years. So we can help each other. They don't have to be professional networkers like Lisa to add value. It's just having somebody to talk to and share ideas and all of that. And just schedule that monthly check-in, and it's up to you to move it or cancel it. But if it's on the calendar, you're more likely to do it. And if you set goals, you're more likely to achieve them. So my first goal was to get to 1,000 connections on LinkedIn 12 years ago before my buddy, and the loser would buy lunch. We did it 3 more times to 2,000, to 2,500, and then to 5,000. And I got 3 lunches out of the deal. But I also got a 5,000 strong network. And he still has a huge network, but mine's still much bigger. And I have used it now to help land our largest client. So in summary, your time is your money, use it sparingly, develop relationships with connectors that serve as a foundation for your network. And then eventually your goal is, I think, to become a connector and help give back, send the elevator down. Provide the value early in every relationship. How can I help you? What's your story? What do you want me to know? Consider volunteering for charities, industry organizations doing pro bono in-kind work. Be careful about when and how you ask for favors from your network. My goal is to build as many chits as possible and never ask for favors from my network, because I don't like owing people and I love helping people. Let your connections build your network for you. Be remarkable. Let them speak the gospel and send people back your way. And connect your network, right? That's back to being a connector. And then be patient. It takes time. You can't expect to get that big deal or that new job just with a couple quick emails, unless you've put in all the time, the years previous. I do mean years. So here are a couple articles: 15 tips to create a regret-free professional career, successful marketing career. And I have 25, it's really 20 now, 27 years of business advice as an entrepreneur. That's on LinkedIn. So these are all just things that I've learned over the years. So check out pdxmindshare.com, go to the anvilmediainc.com, the resource section, we call it the insight section. Email me, Kent@Dexia, with questions, and check out the Dexia monthly newsletter. Follow me on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn, and check out dexia.com for more information about what we do as marketers. And I would be happy to be a resource for you as you take your journey moving forward, as you build your professional career in your network. Hopefully this has been helpful. Tune in for future webinars, podcasts, and blogs at pdxmindshare.com. Thanks, and see you soon.